Our next speaker is Olivia Stimpel, and she is currently a student at West Valley College working on a bachelor's in kinesiology.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Sanjoy and Mike, for putting this together because my first night of science is excellent. I'd like to talk to you guys tonight about the effects of long duration spaceflight on bone mass. So when you think of people going to space, you think, as just what Renee said, is joyful, right? You get to run around, you get to float around, chase water droplets in the air. It looks like fun. I want to go. But you don't think about what it can affect anatomically, such as your bones, your muscles, your organs, physiologically, such as how those systems work together, or even on a molecular basis, all the little background noise that works every day. You don't see, but works every day to keep your body going. A lot of the effects can have on vision impairment. Here on Earth, we have gravity to maintain balance on our body fluids, but when you go into space, that balance is taken away. So I've often heard astronauts describe their first few days in space as if they've been hung upside down, and they have these huge headaches and migraines, and their head hurts a lot, and it's hypothesized that all that pressure is fluid in your head and creating pressure on your eyes, causing vision impairments. Same thing with the heart. Here on Earth, the heart has to work constantly to pump blood against gravity through the rest of your body. However, on space, it doesn't have to work so hard, so it becomes weak. Another big issue is loss of muscle and bone mass. And so if you've ever watched a documentary, you might have seen astronauts who go up as big, strong men, but then come back as really tiny men. Maybe I should have said that. However, they do have very strict exercise regimens, multiple hours, just about every day of the week. They work a lot with resistance training to up their muscle mass. You can see here on the lower left, he's doing curls with a band attached to assist extra resistance to make those muscles work harder. Over here, doing some squats with resistance. And again on a treadmill up at the top with a cord attached to keep them going. This is really great for muscle mass, however, bone requires a separate stimulus. Bone requires impact, which is a factor that environments without gravity don't supply naturally. And when they don't supply that naturally, our bones are constantly remodeling, which means they're breaking down and reconstructing. But if they're breaking down and don't have a stimulus to reconstruct, they become very brittle and get an osteoporotic effect. And by that I mean here, I can show you, we've been very fortunate to have multiple space flights where we were able to send mice to space, both for 15 days and 30 days. And here I can show you, if you haven't worked with bone, maybe I should give you a better visual cue. So think of a dish sponge that goes inside of a PVC pipe. That PVC pipe is what we call cortical bone. It's the outer shell. And you can see it down here at the bottom of the 15-day image. And then that dish sponge that's inside is what we call trabecular bone. And it's really even more important than the cortical bone because it's what holds the cortical bone together. So if we step, these are both femurs, which is the top part of the leg. So if I step and there's nothing to keep that cortical bone intact, it can cripple me. So here you can see, without a stimulus to grow, this on the left is a ground-based mouse. It's lived a full life on the ground, totally normal, versus a mouse who's gone through 15 days of spaceflight. You can see the trabecular bone has thinned, as well as the cortical bone, versus 30 days. Now, mice have much shorter lifespan than humans. So if a human spends 30 days in space, it's not quite this bad. But you can imagine if a human goes to space for 30 days, for 6 months, for a year, and then comes back home onto Earth, all this brittle bone, and then the bones end up grinding against each other, how painful that can be, and how debilitating it can be for everyday physical activities, such as even walking around. But before cells can think about remodeling brittle and damaged bone, they have to think about growing in numbers. And to do that, they do what's called a cell cycle. So there are two parts to the cell cycle, interphase and mitotic, or the M phase. Interphase is when the cells get mentally prepared. They do all the checkpoints, make sure they're ready to go. And then the mitotic phase, to give you a better image, they split in two. So to give you a better image, maybe this is a little bit weird, but think about being cloned into another person. So the first few stages here, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, that's when your bones are splitting into two, your organs are splitting into two, your muscles, your tissues, your cartilage, everything. And then the last stage, cytokinesis, is when your skin splits into two. And now you become not one, but two people. But however, wherever there's a cell cycle, there's also a regulator. And in this case, we focus on cyclin-dependent kinase 1A, P21, or for short, P21, because it's kind of a tongue twister. P21 is a molecule that regulates cell cycle because it's able to stop it in its tracks. And we've learned that P21 is increased during spaceflight due to multiple spaceflight missions. However, P21 is signaled when cells have a lack of activity, or senescent. So not only now are you in space and your bones are breaking down in the hopes to remodel, but don't have a stimulus to remodel. But now P21 is cued, telling the cells to not even try. And to add to that, if you're thinking of astronauts who go into deep space, there's also a radiation exposure. Radiation exposure adds oxidative stress into the cells. What happens with oxidative stress is when radiation seeps into the cell, it releases what's called free radicals. And free radicals are kind of like a bowl in a china shop, where they just go around totally destructive, react with anything, do whatever they want. But your body has natural antioxidants. And so when those antioxidants are able to control the free radicals, calm them down, make them less destructive, it ends up okay. But when there's so much radiation that it goes in and in the cell, the free radicals kind of override all the antioxidants and are just totally destroy the cell and make it completely useless. So this can, although it does not directly result in any of these damages, the increased damage to all the cells that oxidative stress has can then result in neurodegenerative disorders, heart and blood vessel disorders, and bone degeneration. So what I do in the lab is I work right now specifically with oxidative stress and how it damages our bone during spaceflight, especially with both normal mice and mice who have had P21 completely knocked out of them. And it's very important to look at this and look at, can we fix this with nutrition, with medicine, physical behavior? Because we want our astronauts to be able to go to space, not only healthy, not only strong, but more productive. And for that, I am so thankful for the people in my lab who have welcomed me, who have completely helped me in this journey. Dr. Glaber, here in the audience. Dr. Almeida, who has not been able to join us tonight. My personal partner in crime, I know she's watching up there, Meg Chang Campbell. Someone else who was not up on this slide, but who has stayed with me through the very late, very stressful nights, Dr. Cassie Duran, who's also in the audience. And thank you for all of you.